Okay, so good morning, everyone. So here we are, Joc Cedeño and Silvia Simbaña, and today we're going to talk about CALL. It is computer-assisted language learning. So first of all, I would like to say what is this. So basically, CALL, it is used widely to refer to the area of technology and second language teaching and learning. And also it is very useful to search for and study of applications of computers for language teaching and learning by using any processes. And also the learners use a computer all the time, and the results, they can improve his or her language. That is the goal in order to use CALL. So after this introduction, I would like to share with you some of something that I could apply in my teaching experiences. For example, I like to use close activities. So those kinds of activities can repeat an activity in order to reinforce grammar. For example, it is a kind of behaviorist activity because I just explain or just I give an instruction for my students, and they have to have a reading passage, and they can complete, for example, with a verb or with a missing word of vocabulary. It is a kind of close activity. Sometimes when we were working in an online modality, it was opportunity to apply this kind of activities. And I said it is a kind of repetitive, or it's a kind of stimulus for them, because they can use this material over and over when they need. So in that way, they can repeat activity, and also if they want to improve their grades, also they can repeat the same activity. And in that way, they can review the grammar, sometimes the vocabulary. So it depends on the topic. But now in the face-to-face modality, it is very different, I think, because we don't have access to the technology in the classroom. I work in a public institution, so the internet connection is limited. We don't have access anytime. So it is difficult to apply CALL in all the extension or in all the purpose. But something that I would like to use in the technology part, for example, in the problem-based learning, when you need to create a communicative approach. So in that way, the students receive an outline with instructions, and they can follow every part. So we start with a listening, for example, in a listening skill. They have to complete some activities there. And also we're going to reinforce with a reading, and they also can create a project, a mini project. So in that way, they have to think, and they can construct their knowledge. That is the idea. Basically, because we're going to work with CLT in the communicative language teaching, that we're going to apply according to the rules of the Ministry of Education. So in that way, basically, I try to integrate some definitions related to CALL. What about you, Joc?
Well, before I start with my experience, I'd like to ask you a question. You said that you used the structural behavioristic approach in the past with your students. I'd like to know how they felt when you used that.
Okay, as I said, they feel sure what they are going to do. For example, if they can repeat something that at the beginning it was not very clear for them, and they have the opportunity to repeat the same grammar point or the same reading with the close activities, they feel, how do you say, they are ready to complete because they understand in a better way. It could be maybe I provide more examples, for example, to use the specific word vocabulary, and I explain or expand the word bank, and they can use in a better way that word by using also the correct grammar. So they feel great. They also the results also are good because they can improve their results and also they understand in a better way also.
To my experience, in the past, I also used the same approach, structural behavioristic. And I remember that I assigned my students these audio recordings in which they had to record themselves about talking on this specific topic. So it was kind of like a repetitive thing because they had to prepare something that they wrote first, and then they had to record themselves like a kind of reading activity, like repetitive. But it was engaging in a certain way, but at the same time, some students struggled with the use of the technology at that time because I'm telling you about 10 years ago that I used this approach. Besides, I have used the communicative call and also the socio-cognitive approach in the call because I think I tend to not to teach grammar explicitly, but implicitly. And so far, it has had some of the benefit that was also expressed, which was the pair work and group work cooperation, the independence of the student, and as a student-centered approach, basically. And in addition to this, I would say that currently I am not using the technology as much as I did in the past because the school where I worked has prohibited the use of devices like cell phones or tablets because these students were using them as a source to look for other information that was not related to their learning process. So it was understandable. And what we do is I have a projector, we do some activities on Warwall, and also on live worksheets or Kahoot, and they all participate together. And as a behavioristic structural approach, I would say that I am using gamification in the sense that we are using group cooperations with rewards, but it's kind of repetitive because I have to give them badges for completion of the activities. And we use the technology because some of these activities are used from sources from the internet. I mean, like Warwall, as I said before, and they had
Do
to
you
like
use,
compete each other. It was a similar experience.
do you use any tutorials or programs in this part of
Sorry, say that again.
structural behavioral approaches? For example, they mentioned that the use of grammar and vocabulary tutorials or specifically drill programs. Do you use that?
Yeah, I used to apply that in the past, but not anymore.
Why not? For example, in your classes nowadays, maybe?
Well, because I think rather than just listening and practicing vocabulary, I would say they can use it in real situations. For instance, the last thing we learned or we learned the daily routines, I asked them to do a peer assessment in which they had to listen to the experiences of the other peer and evaluate their classmates. And it worked. They were all motivated.
Or yes.
So that's what I can tell you about my experience with technology. I would say it's good to use technology, but in some cases, we also should consider other strategies because we cannot monitor what our students are doing with the devices, and that could be a problem.
Yeah, absolutely right, because it is one of the issues as teachers, we faced that. Overall, in the part of assessment, it was, for me, it was very hard at the beginning when I was using technology in all my online classes, because maybe I apply it, for example, library sheets, okay? In that way, maybe you provide the material, I created my own material because I think it is part of the authentic material, because I consider the context of my students. And in that way, they could complete this assignment. But sometimes they were, as you said, they were not very knowledgeable to use this kind of technology or this kind of web page. Sometimes also at home, they didn't have access to the internet, or the internet was very low. So there were problems. So, but now I think we try to work in a class by using some thinking routines. So also the takes based in projects or in problems, when they also can incorporate, for example, a kind of camp activities when they are going to create some collage or some infographics also. It's a good way they can apply technology by integrated the linguistic skills. Basically, my students, they had problems when they are reading, they couldn't find the main idea, or they couldn't summarize what is the topic about, or that is very, very hard for them. So in that way, basically, I need to use the cognitive process when they construct at least the main idea. In that way, they can summarize by using graphic organizers. So in that way, they can identify, for example, the new words or the topic, and also they are able to explain a little bit the topic. So in that way, that's very, very important to use this.
I strongly agree with you, Silvia. I strongly agree with you, and thank you for sharing. It was nice to talk to you.